Oilspot and lipstick is certainly very interesting. This is definitely Disney experimenting with CGI. This was released in 1987, so as you can imagine, the CGI quality is definitely not what it is today, and even not what it was not that long after this. I'm not going to pretend that the quality of the CGI is very good, but for the time, certainly they definitely had the foundations of what would go on to become obviously some of their best CGI films of all time. And Oilspot and Lipstick is about this junk monster that's threatening these two junk dogs. And the junk dogs, of course, are Oilspot and Lipstick. And they are quite cute. They are made out of junk and they do look very adorable. And the two dogs have to team up and try and defeat this monster. And the boy dog is definitely there to defend his girlfriend. And it's all romantic and very sweet. And it all takes place over about 2 or 3 minutes. It's very brief. Obviously, watching it from an entertainment perspective, it feels quite clunky, and the CGI is quite scrappy. But it was definitely something that they were doing to test out the CGI, and I guess play around with it to see what the capabilities were. The narrative itself is quite sweet. I like the idea of these junk dogs defending themselves from this larger junk monster. This was apparently never released in cinemas, but it was released or premiered. Now, I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly, but at the SIGGRAPH conference, SIGGRAPH, in California. But obviously, looking at it now, it's not a quality piece of animation. But at the time, it would have been something very fascinating, testing the waters with what they could do, what the possibilities were. Who knows what kind of films they could come up with if they could fine tune this CGI technology, which of course we know that they do over the years. Oilspot and Lipstick, from a historical perspective, is definitely really interesting. If somebody showed me this today and said, "What do you think of this?" I'd think, well, that's not a very good example of today's CGI. But at the time, very, very effective. Definitely the sign of changes to come. It's definitely worth watching if you're interested in Disney or the history of animation in general.